Hello everyone, welcome to Edu, and today we are going to start with the first chapter of class 11, that is some basic concepts of chemistry. Okay, so the topics which we are going to cover in this chapter are: number one is introduction, then we have first is introduction, then we have matter, then we have properties of matter and their measurement. Then we have uncertainty in measurement, laws of chemical combinations. Then we have Dalton's atomic theory, which we have to cover, atomic and molecular mass, mole concept, stoichiometry, limiting reagent, and reactions in solutions. We have mass percent, mole fraction, molarity, and we'll also cover some more concentration terms apart from just these. Okay. So now coming to the introduction part, since the name of the chapter is some basic concepts of chemistry, so we should know that if we talk about science, in junior classes we had only one subject, like till 8th we used to study science as the combined subject. Even till 9th also we know that the science has been divided into three parts, that is physics, chemistry and bio. Right? Science has been divided into three parts: physics, chemistry and bio. But when you come to class 11th, you have to, like, these three categories, science has been divided into three categories and you have to study them as one subject each, right? So in today's class, like, we are dealing with chemistry, so we should know like before studying the first chapter, you should know that what is chemistry. Why is it so important that you are studying chemistry? Because chemistry is the study of atoms and molecules. And what are atoms? Atoms are the smallest particles which are indivisible, like the smallest particle which you cannot divide further, right? We will be learning structure of atom, like about atom we'll be learning in chapter 2, that is structure of atom. We'll study atom deeply in that chapter. Now, since chemistry is the study of atoms and molecules, and atoms and molecules are actually nothing but they comprise they combine together to form matter. Now, what is matter? So, chemistry is basically the study of matter. Now, what is matter? Matter is anything that has mass, occupies space, and offers resistance. Means anything which has mass, occupies space, and offers resistance. In other words, you can say anything which has mass, volume, and offers resistance. For example, if you are trying to push your PC, your computer with your hands, you have to apply some force. So that PC will also apply some opposing force to stop your motion. So that opposing force is known as resistance. So that PC is a matter because it has some mass and it is occupying some space of the room. So that is why it is matter, and it also offers resistance because it is stopping you. Yes, it is applying some opposing force towards you. So matter is anything that has mass, occupies space, and offers resistance. So chemistry is basically the study of matter. Now, if you look around us, like I have told you, PC is a matter, okay? Pen is a matter, book is a matter, chair is a matter, right? Laptop is a matter, mobile phone is a matter. Everything which has mass, occupies space, and offers resistance, they are matter, right? And in class 9th, you must have studied there are 5 states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, plasma, and Bose-Einstein. These are the 5 states of matter. Okay, I'm not going deep into all the states. So why, now the second question is, why do we need, is it so important to study chemistry? What is the reason that we are studying chemistry separately? Because the chemistry is very very important to us because it is related to our day to day lives. For example, if I say, for example, if we talk about dyes, polymers, detergents, soaps, detergents, we are using these things in our day-to-day lives. Soaps and detergents, they are made up from chemicals. Dyes, yes, we, what are dyes? The dyes are used to color food, to color cloth and everything. So dyes are made up from chemicals. Polymers like nylon, yes, we are wearing synthetic clothes, right? Yes, fiber, so they are example of polymers. So we are using chemistry in our day-to-day lives. For example, insecticides, pesticides, yes, like they, insecticides, pesticides are helpful to us to protect the crops, yes, from getting damaged. So chemistry is very very useful to us. Even you must be aware about, like everybody is aware about coronavirus, COVID-19. So scientists are like, vaccines have come up. So chemicals, vaccines are made up from some chemicals. So chemistry is very very important to us, right? We eat medicines, right? So in medicines also, the doctor actually see what kind of chemicals are present in this, or what kind of salts are present in this particular medicine, and according to that he prescribes the medicine to you according to the kind of like like seeing your medical condition. So chemistry is very very important to us. Okay, now so basically chemistry is making our life better. So if there is one cisplatin drug which is used for cancer therapy. So again, chemistry is very useful to us. Cisplatin drug is used for cancer therapy, or the other is a drug which you can use, which we can use for cancer therapy is Taxol, 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 right? Even like we have fluorocarbons. Yes, we have CFCs, which actually deplete ozone layer. Yes, which actually ozone depletion. So scientists are finding an alternative to CFCs, so that the ozone layer, the depletion of ozone layer can be stopped and our environment can be saved. So this was just the introduction of this chapter. Now, moving to the next slide, we have, on the basis of physical state, matter is divided into three parts, that is solid, liquid and gas. And you must be studying about these three states of matter since class 4 5, right? You must have heard about the states of matter. We have solid, matter is divided into three states, and we have solid, liquid and gas. Solid, liquid and gas. In solid state, the atoms, molecules or particles, they are closely packed. The atoms, molecules or particles are closely packed. In liquid state, the atoms, molecules or particles, they are a little far away from each other. And in gases, the atoms, molecules or particles, they are very loosely packed. Yes, they are closely packed. In solids, the atoms, molecules and particles are closely packed. In liquids, they are loosely packed, and in gases, they are very loosely packed. Because of this, because of this, the intermolecular distance, if I talk about intermolecular spaces are highest. See, intermolecular spaces means the space between two molecules. The space between two molecules, it's highest or it's maximum in case of solids. And in case of gases, the intermolecular spaces are, see, intermolecular spaces I'm talking about, they are minimum. Yes, because the molecules are very closely packed. They are intermolecular space means the spaces between two molecules. But if I talk about gases, they are very very far away from each other, so therefore intermolecular spaces are very high. If I talk about forces of attraction, since the molecules in solids are very very closely bound, so we say the intermolecular forces of attraction are maximum in solid and minimum in gases. So the first property of solid is that the solids have definite shape and definite volume because the atoms are or molecules are closely packed. But liquids, they have definite volume but no definite shape. Yes, because liquids, they have the tendency to take the shape of the container in which they are filled. For example, if I fill 10 ml of water in glass, it will take the shape of glass. If I fill 10 ml of water in cup, it will take the shape of cup. If I fill 10 ml of water in a beaker, it will take the shape of beaker. Yes. So, and if we talk about gases have neither fixed volume nor fixed shape. So basically they acquire the shape and volume of the material in which or the container in which they are packed. For example, if I talk about liquefied petroleum gas (LPG), which are being used in our households, so LPGs are being stored in cylinders. So they are compressed and being stored in cylinders, so they take the shape of the cylinders in which they are stored. Next example is balloon. Very simple example, like if we blow air into the balloon, what happens? Balloon gets inflated and the air takes shape of the balloon, right? So these are the examples. Okay, fine. So I think this much is clear to you. Now moving on to the next topic, we have at microscopic level or bulk level, matter can be classified into mixtures or pure substances. At macroscopic, first was physical state of matter, like I know. Yes, on the basis of physical state, matter is divided into three parts, and at macroscopic or bulk level, matter can be divided into mixtures or pure substances. So we'll study each of them one by one. Mixtures and pure substances. So first we have mixtures. Mixtures are of, see, we have mixtures. Mixtures are of two types: homogeneous mixtures and we have heterogeneous mixtures. Heterogeneous mixtures. And if I talk about pure substances, they are divided into two parts: elements and compounds. Elements and compounds. So in mixtures, what happens is the components or substances which are present, they are present in variable ratio. They are present in variable ratio, or they are present in variable ratio, or the ratio is not fixed. The substances or components are present in variable ratio, but in case of pure substances, the components or substances are present in fixed ratio, right? So now firstly we will discuss about mixtures in detail, then we'll move to pure substances. The mixtures are divided into two parts, that is homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. Now what is homo? The term homo means same. Homo means same. So in homogeneous mixtures are those mixtures in which the components of the components are uniformly mixed with each other. Homogeneous mixtures are those mixtures in which the components are uniformly mixed with each other. Components are completely mixed with each other and their components are completely mixed with each other and their composition is uniform throughout. Components are completely mixed with each other and the composition is uniform throughout. For example, we have sugar solution. In sugar solution, we have sugar particles mixed with water, and the particles of sugar and water are uniformly mixed each with each other such that you cannot separate the components of sugar and water like that. You can, or you can say in other words, the components of sugar and water are not clearly visible to us. Sugar will get easily dissolved into the particles of water. Now, second is heterogeneous mixture. Heterogeneous mixture are those in which the composition is not uniform throughout. The composition is not uniform throughout, and sometimes the components are observed. Example is very simple example, that is rice plus pulse. If you make a mixture of rice and pulse, so you can easily observe rice and pulse, components of rice and pulse, right? A second example is like if you mix sugar plus, like if we mix sugar and salt, so we can easily observe the components of sugar and salt. Homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures, they can be separated by physical methods like filtration, hand picking, crystallization, evaporation, fractional distillation, etc. These are the physical, and there are many more physical methods, right? So with the help of the physical methods, the homogeneous mixtures and the heterogeneous mixtures can be separated into the individual components. Now the next part is pure substances and compounds. Now what are pure substances? Pure substances are those substances which are made from only one type of elements. They are made up from only one type of elements. What are elements? Elements are those which are made up of only one type of atoms, like hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sodium, copper, etc. Now these atoms can also combine with each other. For example, these atoms like hydrogen plus hydrogen, they combine with each other to form H2 molecule. Since this H2 molecule also contains only one type of atom, so this is also an example of elements. Oxygen, nitrogen, right? S8. These all are the example of elements. But if we talk about compounds, they are made up of different type of elements. When two or more, we can say different types of elements. When two or more type of elements combine, we get compounds. We get compounds from different type of elements. For example, we have 2 hydrogen plus 1 oxygen gives us H2O, and the elements, they combine in fixed ratio. The elements actually combine in fixed ratio. For example, the ratio of hydrogen is to oxygen is 2 is to 1. Another example, you can take carbon. 1 carbon plus 2 oxygen gives us CO2. So the ratio is 1 is to 2. Now, we had discussed about that how can we separate mixtures. Now, how can we separate these pure substances? They can be separated by chemical methods. They can be separated by chemical methods. Like, for example, if I talk about water, like we know that we have obtained water from when hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, they combine together, they form water. But now if I want to get back hydrogen gas and oxygen gas back, so I cannot separate it by physical methods. I have to do the electrolysis. We have to do the electrolysis, like we have to break the water molecules in the presence of electricity, and this can only be done in laboratories, because in science labs we have a like big huge setups of electrolysis machines, and there we can do the electrolysis of water. Fine. So this portion is very basic. Now coming on to the next portion, we have properties of matter and their measurement. So firstly, we will discuss about the properties of matter, right? If I talk about properties of matter, we have actually two properties of matter. Two properties of matter: physical properties and chemical properties. So we have two properties of matter: physical properties and chemical properties. In case of physical properties are those properties of matter in which the identity of the matter does not get, like in which the identity of the matter is not loosed. Like you can say, physical properties are those properties of the matter in which the matter do not lose its identity. For example, melting point, boiling point, density, temperature, they all are the example of physical properties of matter in which the actual identity of the matter is not lost. But if we talk about chemical properties of the matter are those properties in which the matter actually loses their identity. For example, we have acidity, we have basicity, and we have combustibility. Like we know that if I talk about combustion of methane, very famous example, combustion of methane gas, it takes place in the presence of oxygen, and this methane gas will be converted into CO2 gas plus water. So basically from methane gas we have obtained carbon dioxide gas and water. So the actual identity of methane gas has been lost. So these are the properties of matter. Now the second is measurement. Now we will learn how to measure matter. See, in measurement, we have, suppose I have to measure the length of a table. Suppose the length of the table is 6 meter. So for measurement of matter, what we have to do? For the first thing is that we have to write down some digit, right? And along with that digit, we have to mention the unit. Yes, if I am saying that length, the unit of length is meter. If I'm saying, okay, if I'm saying volume is centimeter cube, liter, ml. If I'm saying area, meter square. So we have, along with the digit, we have to mention the unit, right? So when the idea of measurement came, so few years, like many years back, there were two types of measurements. First was English system. English system, and the other was metric system. First was English system and the other was metric system. And metric system was very famous. It started from French. And it got its popularity all over the world. But English system was only used in US. It was only used in US. Why this French system was very famous? Because so metric system was famous in French and all over the world. All over the world. Why? Because this system of measurement was very convenient. This system of measurement was very convenient, and it was actually the decimal system. Decimal system. Now what is decimal system? We are very much aware. Like you all know that 1 liter is equals to 1000 ml. 1 meter is equals to 100 centimeters. So it is very easy for like for it was very easy. This kind of conversions are very easy. But in case of English system, we had to remember a lot of things, like 1 foot is equals to 12 inches. 1 yard is equals to 3 feet, and 1 mile is equals to 1760 yards. So there was too much to learn. So therefore decimal system was very convenient and popular. So it was yards, right? So now what happened was SI system, International System of Unit of Measure, International System of Units and Measurements came, and it was signed by the 11th General Conference on Weights and Measurements in Paris in 1875. And there it was being decided that the whole of the world has to use one single system of measurement. Like you cannot do like one country is following some other units of measurement, and one country is following some other system, and another countries are following some another system. So just to bring like a common, so they decided that there should be something common, right? So these are the basic physical quantities and the units. This table I have took from NCRT. See, length. We are very much aware about this. Length is in L, and the symbol is L, meter unit, and symbol for SI unit is M. Mass, small m, kilogram, kg. Time. For time we have T, small t, second, S. Current we have I, ampere, capital A. Thermodynamic temperature is in Kelvin, and that's the unit of temperature is Kelvin. Amount of substance is N, that is mole, and the unit is mol. Okay. Now last is luminous intensity, which is IV, and the unit is candela, and symbol is CT. So luminous intensity is basically the amount of light which has come from monochromatic radiation. Okay, so this term you have to learn from, you will learn about this term in physics. Okay, so these are the basic physical quantities which have been given, which have been decided by SI, that is International System of Unit and Measurement. Okay, now we have, now I'm giving you some units. You have to just, like, you should be aware about this. Like, see, pico. 1 pico is equals to 10 to the power minus 12 meter, and it is denoted by a small p. I know maximum of you must be knowing about this, but just those who don't know, you should be aware about this, because sometimes questions are being asked and you have to do the conversation. You have to do conversions. 1 nano is equals to 10 to the power minus 9 meter. We have 1 micro. It is denoted by mu, which is 10 to the power minus 6 meter. Then we have 1 milli, which is 10 to the power minus 3 meter. Then we have centi, 1 centi, which is centimeter, yes, which is 10 to the power minus 2 meter. Then we have 1 deci, which is 10 to the power minus 1 meter. Then we have deca, deci, centi, this is denoted by cm. Deci is, we have 1 deca, 10 meter. We have kilo. 1 kilo is equals to 10 की power 3 meter. 1 mega is equals to 10 की power 6 meter. 1 giga is equals to 10 की power 9 meter. And 1 tetra is equals to 10 to the power 12 meter. So these are the basic units that you have to remember for the conversions which can come in the questions. Now the next thing, which, like, we were talking about measurement. So number one, like, measurement. Suppose we have mass. So the unit of mass is kilogram. Though we have another units of mass also, gram, right? We can also use another units like gram, milligram also. But the SI unit is kilogram. And if I talk about volume of substance, the SI unit is meter cube. Though we have volume, liter, milliliter, centimeter cube, these are also the units of volume, but the SI unit is meter cube. Okay. Similarly, we have density, and we know that density is equals to mass upon volume. So the SI unit is kilogram per meter cube. The other units are gram per centimeter cube, is also a unit of density. We have temperature. The unit is Kelvin, degree Celsius and degree Fahrenheit. So if you want to convert degree Kelvin is equals to degree Celsius plus 273.15. This is how you can do the conversion. And degree Fahrenheit is equals to 9/5 degree Celsius plus 273.15. Okay.